Sounds like a plan.
If anybody is seeing us right now, we're just waiting until we see the live feed right here on Facebook. And then we're going to start our pre-show, which here it is right here. So let me go ahead and pull this up, mute that. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Happy Hour Podcast pregame episode. Of course, I'm Ray. Tom Nutty's joining me tonight. Matt is not here. And we're going to have author Pauline Irene Stacey. She has a book all about cleaning. You know, I'm very interested in asking about that. And a lot of stuff going on this week, including Tom Nutty is now going to be a part of our everyday crew whenever he's available, whenever he's not doing his smoke break podcast or his stand-up or anything like that. You know, the chemistry we've had, the 2 episodes he's done with us, we like, and we kind of had like a hole that was there for a little bit. And now we're, that's going to be kind of filled a little bit by Tom Nutty. So, welcome to the team, man.
I'm just happy to be here, my friend. Happy you're letting me be a part of this. Because I talked to you, probably almost 2 years ago now. And I told you that this was one of the main reasons that I even started my own shit was because of what you guys were doing. So
yeah,
I appreciate it, man.
Oh, it's no problem at all. And what I'm going to do real quick is also this week, and Tom, I'm sure you saw this yourself, our brand new Happy Hour Podcast logo dropped. Steve Freeman, shout out to Steve Freeman, our amazing graphic artwork designer. He did, actually he did this right here. Make sure you go out and pick yourself up Happy Hour Podcast merch out of our shop on Happy Hour at the HHPod.com. But yes, this is our brand new logo. Throw it on some t-shirts, hoodies, glasses, everything now available exclusively on the HHPod.com. So make sure you get over, pick up some of that stuff. And once again, huge shout out to Steve Freeman for doing all of that for us. And Pauline is in the room, so she'll be able to join us a little bit early, which is kind of cool. But I'm going to go through a couple of things real quick before we go on. The first is our Urban Dictionary term of the night. So Urban Dictionary term of the night, of course, Pauline cleans houses. Hoarder, which is a poor, unusually fat person who collects useless items and store them in their home until it's overflowing with stuff and they can't even live.
Why did they have to throw fat in there? I feel like skinny people can be hoarders.
Yes, they most certainly can be. And then another definition is a molly bastard that keeps everything and refuses to part with anything. So
I feel like whoever wrote that definition had like hoarders as parents, because that is hateful.
Yeah, well, one of the descriptions is that's David Cohn. He's a smelly bastard hoarder. I want to throw shit his way. And then, so that's your Urban Dictionary term of the night. And, also, as I was talking about with, here, let me just go ahead and pull this up real quick on here. What I was talking about, make sure you go over to www.thehhpod.com. As I said, all of our merchandise, boom, right there. That's what it looks like on a hoodie. So make sure you go out, pick up a hoodie, pick up whatever, and make sure you support the Happy Hour Podcast. Because hell, I don't get paid for it. Tom doesn't get paid for it. Matt doesn't get paid for it. The more money we get, the more we can pump into this beast and make it better than what it already is. And Pauline is already in the room, so I'm going to go ahead and admit her in. And man, Tom, like it's cold as hell outside.
Yeah, I had 2 pipes in the basement freeze I found out they were frozen about an hour ago.
No,
Nothing's broken. They're just like, it's just like the fill line for the one bathroom sink, so it's not working correctly. So I think I got it figured out though.
Yeah. And there's Pauline. Hello, Pauline.
Hi.
How are you? Welcome. We're doing our pre-show right now. Thanks for joining us a little bit early. I know Elaine told you 8 o'clock, but we normally just come on early and I just send the invite early in case you want to hop in early. It's actually funny. Tom's telling us we're in Baltimore and right now it's about like 18 degrees outside. Yeah. And it's completely insane because here in Baltimore, you can go for like, it'll be 18 degrees today. And then tomorrow it'll be like 75 outside. And it's just like, what is happening right now? So
I was born and raised in Massachusetts. So I feel your pain.
So like 18 is not even really that impressive to you.
Yeah,
is it?
yeah. She's
Well,
It's springtime.
doesn't make me a happy camper. Hence living in West Palm Beach for 38 years.
oh wow. That's a big change. I guess after all the Boston living, you're like, yep, going to Florida. I am out of here.
I visit, well, before COVID, I was up there all the time, but yeah, it's not for me.
And where about in Massachusetts did you live?
Bellingham, it's on the Southern line, it's right on the Rhode Island line.
Oh, okay, cool. Yeah.
Like everybody assumes everything I ever did was in Boston. But I'm like, no, I live so much closer to Providence. Like, that's where we went.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's cool because me and my wife and her cousin went up to Salem for Halloween, and that's
Halloween?
Yeah, we went up there for Halloween. It was a crazy experience
man.
ever. And we've talked about it before on the show, but it was awesome. And going up there, cutting through Connecticut was cool because I'd never been up to that part of the United States before. And cutting through Connecticut and seeing Connecticut, I always say the road signs look like stamps because the road signs are there, but it has those little white ridges around the sign. It's like they look like stamps. And it was cool. I mean, we went to Boston briefly our last day on the way home. They wanted to get coffee, and we were like, we should have got like Boston cream pie or Boston cream cake, something like that. But I think what we're going to do is we're going to plan for a Red Sox and Orioles game and go to Boston again and go to Fenway and do all that.
That is awesome.
So have you been over to Fenway or anything like that?
I have. I was just in Salem. That was my last trip.
Oh, real nice.
Before COVID. But my one of the girls that works for me that does my social media, she was in Salem on Halloween, and we had a meeting that night. It was Sunday night, and she's texting me, and she's like, she goes to school in Boston, so she's like, oh, I don't think I'm gonna make our call tonight. I'm stuck in traffic coming out of Salem, and I'm like, oh, been there, done that. Good luck. And I went in the summer. It wasn't even Halloween, so I can imagine. But that whole area, I mean, I'm not prejudiced because I was born there. It's just that because I was born there, I got to experience a lot of the history. If you like history, you know what I mean? And so, even with sports, our sports is a lot of history, right? We have the oldest baseball stadium in the league. Yep. And it's over 100 years old now. I don't know what it is, like 105 or 100.
Yeah, I think it's 107, I think.
7.
Yeah. And it's funny because it's that, and then it's Wembley. I think Wembley is the second oldest. And I'm not sure what some of the other ones, but I know Camden Yards also. Camden Yards celebrates its 30th year this coming season. So Camden Yards, I think, is going to end up being another Wembley and Fenway, and everybody loves going to that ballpark. And they finally, I don't know if you've ever been to Baltimore and have been to Camden Yards, but if you ever come to Baltimore, go to an Orioles game, you'll have so much fun. We had a left field wall that was a lot of home runs left there because there's a lot more right-handers in baseball than there is left-handers. So it was like the power alley, and it benefited the Orioles, but it also more so benefited the other teams. So now they finally pushed that wall out about 20 feet and made it higher, not as high as the Green Monster, but they made it higher. And hopefully that'll help out a lot with our if we have a baseball season this year.
I know
lockout. And with Massachusetts, was it like a kind of like, I don't want to say culture shock, but was it like, you guys so used to being in Massachusetts, like me in Maryland, I like the change of the weather. I like the holidays, being cold around Christmas and all that. And then Florida, it's pretty much hot all the time.
It's not, that's the thing. So when I first came here, you kind of think that, right? But after a while, you start to see, like, I'll give you an example. So, my book is about cleaning, right? And one of the things somebody brought up the other day was, I remember my mom used to say when the spring was coming, we'd open up all the windows and stuff and we'd do spring cleaning. I'm like, oh yeah, we would call that spring fever, right? And as time went on, I realized, what we have like the opposite of what you guys have. So now when the fall comes, because the summer is the hot stuff. I mean, it's hot. Yeah. So people say, oh how do you deal with it? I'm like, well, when it's 12 degrees outside, you go sit outside on a beach? No, we go inside, just like you guys go inside to warm up, we go inside to cool down. And so, but when the fall weather starts coming, so it will drop to the low 80s and, high 70s. And you get accustomed to that. And I call that fall fever.
Yeah.
That's when we open up the windows and the doors and fresh air. And then all winter, there's a reason why people come here in the winter, because it's almost the same every day, 75 and awesome. That's our rainy season is in the summer. So you see why like the tourists come, because it's perfect. They don't have to deal with that 90, like going on 100, kind of weather. So it's very pleasant, and we hardly have any rain. So, but you believe me, my friend, if you were here long enough, you would know there's the season. And it's so funny because I get excited when summer's coming, because I'm like, I just want the heat. I want to go to the beach, I just want the heat. And but after a while, like, okay, I'm ready for the fall.
Well,
We get our cold weather too, just January and February. And I know you guys will laugh, but like for right, it's kind of mild tonight. It's 70 right now, but it has been dipping into like 40. It has dipped into like 40s, like 49, 47 a couple nights, in February, in January. It will do that in February too.
I leave for work. I leave for work around 3:30, 4 a.m. every morning, right? And this morning it was 7 degrees.
Oh my God. What do you do for work?
I'm a welder, pipe fitter.
Oh my God. So you leave so early because why?
Because I work in Baltimore, but I actually live in like South Central Pennsylvania.
Oh,
So it takes me like an hour and a half to get to work.
Holy moly. You do that every day?
Yeah. Yep.
Hey, I lived in New York and I used to do that too. So, but I couldn't do it for that long. It's just too much. It's like half your life is on the road.
Yeah.
I'd be able to do it, but my wife wouldn't be able to. And right now, like where we're at now, it's actually, we're both close to our jobs. Like me and her work about 5 minutes away from each other, which is great.
Nice. Yeah.
And then we both live about 15 minutes away from our jobs. And my job is moving in April or May. And then they're going to be even closer. So my 15-minute drive goes to like a 6-minute drive. And I'm just like, yeah, why would I go anywhere? This is great.
Like you could get in the car at say you started at 7, you could get in the car at 7 and still not really be late to work, right? Like no one would miss you for those 6 minutes.
And Pauline, as we said, thank you for joining us on the pre-show. You'll be good to go from 8 to 9 also as well, right?
Yep.
Okay, cool. We'll talk all about your book and all kinds of fun stuff relating to cleaning and cleaning houses and all kinds of stuff. I got all kinds of questions lined up.
I was just talking to my my intern today. And we have our call once a week for a couple of hours. And, we were talking about the interviews. He's the one that's done he did all of my website and stuff. And so he was setting up, every time I get a new interview, I put that on there. And so we were talking about that. I'm like, it just intrigues me how people go from, because I also researched the show I'm going to be on, right? So
Yeah.
there's like rock stars and actors and, all these sexy Hollywood women and stuff. And then they want this lady about cleaning. I'm like, what? How do they go from that to that? But what happens is it's just such a subject that either excites people or aggravates them so much that it actually becomes fun.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing. Like, people always ask, "Hey, what's your show about?" And it's basically like it's a bunch of guys drinking beer, and if we were to sit down together in a bar and have some drinks, this is what we would talk about, and that's the whole thing. And, it's crazy because, as you said, we have like actors on, we have adult film stars on, we have pro wrestlers on.
Yeah.
And it's a variety show. And that's the way the local TV show I used to have kind of was. We had a variety of everything. And I kept it and molded it into the podcast as well, because I was like, there's going to be something for everybody. So, okay, so somebody might not like episode 15, but that person might like episode 30 and 31. So, that's just the whole thing. It kind of keeps something out there for everybody. So it's fun. And, we just come out, have a good time. And, especially with the way times are now and all that, I'm all about, just go out, have fun. Let's laughing is the key to everything, and
when people find out my age, they like shocked and they're like, what do you do? Like this. You just have to laugh. Everything is a joke because
Now, pretty much we're going to play some games too. So I don't know if you saw on the research you did, we do some games.
so I have to ask you something, and you can't. I'm just a little confused because I think Eileen made a mistake.
Okay.
With telling me what the show is going to be on. So what is this show? Because this is not what she told me.
The Happy Hour podcast.
Oh, it is the happy. Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. All right. So there's got to be more than one because there's another one that has a female. What's her name? Jamie something or other.
Yeah.
So okay. So
It's funny. I my TV show way back in the day was Happy Hour TV. So I just kept it as the Happy Hour podcast. I mainly call it the HHPod. The only problem is there's so many happy hour related things when it comes to podcasts.
yes,
And I just,
that's the issue, right?
yeah, and I mean, that's the thing. And it's like, hey, you know what, though, really, that benefits everybody with that name, because if someone goes to YouTube or Google and types in Happy Hour podcast, all these different podcasts pop up. So it's like, okay, you may get introduced to a new podcast that you like, looking for this one particular, podcast. And I mean, that's just the way it is,
It's the same thing with mine, Ray. Like Smoke Break podcast.
Yeah.
There's
That's awesome.
however many on Spotify that are Smoke Break this or some iteration of the same thing,
And I mean, that's the thing. And it's like, you just got to try to do things where you're a little bit different and you make yourself stand out with something, even if it's one little thing. And it's like, hey, it is what it is, like, and it's not a copyrighted phrase. Like, that's the thing. Like, nobody's went out and copyrighted Smoke Break. No one's went out and copyrighted the Happy Hour podcast, but that, it happens, but yeah, we're going to play some cool games. Once we get onto the regular episode.
I'm intrigued and nervous at the same time.
Well, one, we did a new segment, and Elaine didn't know how to explain it, but we do a new segment called Burn Photo, which we debuted last week. And pretty much it's a segment, and me and Tom are going to do it. So you're going to get to have some fun with us. Me and Tom are going to do it. Basically, we show a photo of ourselves that we wish we could throw into a fire and make fun of that photo. And so last week, our guests did it as well. And so we're trying to explain it of what it is. We got to get that down. I got to get that down of, I sent the synopsis to Elaine for when she sends people over, like, hey, this is what the segment is. If they want to take part, cool. If not, they can just help us make fun of our own photos, and so there's that. We also do a game called Incoherent, What Do You Meme, and Cards Against Humanity. So those are some of the games that we do, throughout the regular episode. So should be fun. We're going to ask you the basic stuff, but also we have really out there sense of humors and really out there personalities. So
I'm noticing. I'm picking that up.
Yeah. But it's fun. Like, I mean, that's the thing, like with our guests, like, we also look to, we're like, okay, well, this guest we can probably get really crazy with. This guest we'll keep it a little bit down, because that's the thing with your book, all that, we want people to also be able to tune in, see the stuff with your book and, get that out as well. And pretty much, we'll get into your book once in about like 10 minutes, once we start recording for all the major podcast platforms. What made you write the book? Is it the only book that you have out? And what made you sit there and go, hey, I'm going to write a book about?
So, 33 years ago was when the book was written.
Wow.
This is like, it's a great story. I was at the time, I was putting myself through college and I was a single mom. My whole family was in Massachusetts. So I had no family to kind of help out. My daughter was 5. I had no child support. So I was a single mom. So I was putting myself through school on my own and taking care of her by myself. And so the only thing I had for us was whatever I made. But I wanted to, I went to school 10 years later than the average student. So I had to work to support us. And so I had to find something that was flexible. And I had done, as a favor for a friend, I had done some cleaning before. So I thought, oh, let me start this, right? So I started cleaning houses, and I had to get my daughter out of daycare before 6 o'clock because they would charge you $25 for every 5 minutes you were late. And back in those days, it might as well have been $1 million because I didn't have $25 for 5 minutes of being late. So when I started cleaning the houses, I was trying to do like 2 before I would go get it. Because remember, I'd go to school all morning. And then I was in all these organizations. So I would like be meeting with the president for like an hour or so before I got off campus. And I'd have to go clean a house or 2 and then get her by 6. So it was crazy. So I started trying to like, how would you say, like challenge myself. And I'd be like, okay, I'm going to do this house 10 minutes faster than I did last week. But you have to remember, when you're cleaning, when you're working for anybody else, it's 100%, right? There's no 99%. So you can't skip anything. You just got to do it faster. So what happened was, while I was in school and I was taking classes, I was studying management. I happened to have a class that was talked about having, they were doing this experiments for production and manufacturing. I think it was Ford Motor Company, that they were taking parts and putting them on conveyor belts. And they had people doing like 3 or 4 things to a part before it would go to the next person to do their stuff, right? Then they took the part and they have one person do one thing before it went to the next person. And everybody was doing one thing at a time. And they realized that the production was much, much faster. And so when I was cleaning, when you clean, you kind of have, I call it empty mind space. It's like you're just thinking about whatever. And so one day it just popped in my head when I was cleaning. I'm like, wait, if you do one thing at a time and things go faster, why can't we do that with cleaning? And so I'll fast forward a little bit, save some for the audience, but I developed this system and I could clean a whole house in 3 hours. Nobody believes it. Nobody believes it. I live in Palm Beach County. It's the richest county. I work for the Palm Beach people and I call them museums. They don't live in homes. They live in museums. It didn't matter. There's no family pictures. It's just like, I'm like, oh, am I here to shop or do you sleep here? And so that's how it happened. And so I was just so excited, you guys. And I have to ask real quick. I know you're Ray, but that says not Tom.
No, my name is actually Tom. That's kind of like an inside joke, and I forgot to change it.
I'm gonna call you not Tom.
You can call me not Tom. That works as well.
So I just decided I have to share this with everybody. It's just too exciting to hold into myself. Then the pandemic came. Everybody did something different when the pandemic came, right?
Yeah. So. Well, I mean, it's funny because with the pandemic, really with releasing a book, a lot of people are going to read. So, that's actually kind of, people are cooped up. What am I going to do? It's like, hey, they're going
to clean now.
And it actually, when you brought up the county that you were at and a lot of the nice houses, it's actually a lot of funny. Like a lot of people don't realize that actually Maryland per capita is one of the richest states in the country. Yeah, because you got to realize Silver Spring.
That was Connecticut. Oh.
We have Silver Spring, Rockville, Washington, D.C., Gaithersburg, Columbia, Cumberland, like all these areas that have multi-million-dollar houses and multi-million-dollar developments around.
It's basically concentrated into like 3 counties, like Montgomery County, Howard County, and like Harford County. They're the big ones.
Is kind of up there too.
Yeah.
And a lot of people, when people, they hear Maryland, they automatically think Baltimore. And it's like, that's the thing. But when you actually get into Maryland and you get into those counties and all that, and you look around and you're like, man, like, it's.
So is it old money? Like, where's the money come from?
A lot of Montgomery County is like new money, like DC money, because it's 30 minutes outside of DC.
Yeah.
So you get a lot of that DC money around the suburbs of DC.
Yeah.
So DC being attached to, the butt of Maryland, right there in the middle of Maryland and all that, it's that fuels it right there, and even parts of Virginia, kind of on like that DC are kind of like that as well. But I read that one day and I read more into it and I was blown away. I was like, man, like I've lived in Maryland my entire life and I didn't know that, but then I was like, well, that explains why our taxes are still high in Maryland.
Yeah, I bet you guys that even though those homes are large, I bet you they're actual homes that I call a home where you live. Like you've got pictures of your family on the wall and you got kids in the house, where a lot of this old money in Palm Beach, there's no family pictures. That's why I'm like, it's a museum. They just got all these artifacts all over the place.
They just have stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff, you know. This is my stuff.
So they don't have like two big dumb dogs running around the house destroying everything.
No dumb dogs.
Because that is my household.
Yeah, that is my household also.
Hey, not Tom, that's a home.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
That is definitely a home. It's actually funny because Tom, we have the same problem. I have two dumb dogs as well. Actually, the one dog, I think I told you earlier on in the week, he's screwing with us. Like he got really lethargic last weekend, and like my wife was hysterical. Like he's in, like he wasn't responding to anything. He wasn't getting up. So we were talking about taking him to the vet. And once he caught wind of going to the vet, he started to feel better. And then on Monday or Tuesday, he kind of went back, and I looked him right in his eyes. I'm like, "You're going to the vet this weekend." Sure enough, yesterday, today, all that, he's running around his normal self and all that. I'm like, "No, you're going to the vet tomorrow." That's what's happening.
What kind of dog? What kind of dog is it?
See, it's weird because our one dog, she's a lab and pit mix, but we don't know what he is. Like he's such a mutt. He has like the markings of a German Shepherd or like a Rottweiler, like kind of like that coloring of those, but he's like the size of a terrier. So we don't know exactly what he's mixed with.
Something was going on there.
You know, and everybody was like, "Well, get a DNA test," and we're just like, "Well, getting a DNA test is almost as good as just looking at it and going, it's this." Like,
it's going to be a laundry list of different dogs.
It's this dog that has a pig heart. You know, it's like, and it's actually, that's an inside joke. There's a man here in Maryland we were talking about last week on last week's episode. Got a heart transplant.
Yeah, I heard about that.
Yeah,
and he's still alive.
Yeah, so
kinda.
So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and get ready to go into our regular program, which, you know, this pre-show part, this always, you can see this on our Facebook, YouTube, all that as an extended episode. Everything we're going to record from this point forward will be on every major podcast platform, you know, wherever you find your podcast in audio form. So we'll go ahead and just go right into that. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Happy Hour podcast. Of course, I'm Ray. Tom Nutty, who's now officially a part of the crew, is joining us along this week.
What's up, people?
And our very special guest, Pauline Irene Stacey. She's the author of No Time to Clean, Listen to Pauline. So, you know, we were talking a little bit on our pre-show, a little bit about some of the houses, and tell us about the book. Tell us exactly, you know, with the cleaning houses, all that, you know, how it came to be, and, you know, all that fun stuff.
So No Time to Clean, Listen to Pauline is a book about a system, a cleaning system that will make a huge difference in your lives. It actually revolutionizes the way we think about cleaning. Cleaning is a topic no one ever taught us, right? I mean, you know, somebody gives you, your mom or whatever, here's a dusting can and a rag, go clean, go dust or whatever, right? No one ever really taught us how to clean. And according to the American Cleaning Institute, 34% of Americans feel like they don't clean enough, and 31% of Americans feel like they don't clean correctly.
Yes, so, I would say I fall in both of those.
Oh, absolutely.
So what happens is, we started talking a little bit before the show, but the book was written 33 years ago when I was in school full time. I was a single mom. I had no child support. I lived in Florida. My family's up north in Massachusetts. So I didn't have anybody to do any babysitting. So I had my daughter in daycare. And so I was just busy. It's a very busy person. And I had to try to figure out, and I was putting myself through school, cleaning houses. So I had to try to figure out how to get as much done as fast as I could. And we talked about when you're working for somebody else, you can't speed things up by skipping stuff, right? When you're doing for somebody else, there's no 99%, it's 100%. So I had to figure out, how can I do a 100% job in 50% less time than I was doing it? And I, the classes I was taking at the time were management classes. And so I was recalling one day when I was cleaning that about a experiment Ford Motor Company was doing with parts and how to get more production out of their employees. And so they did this experiment where they put parts on the conveyor belt, and they had somebody doing 3 or 4 things to that part, move it down the conveyor belt, and somebody else did 3 or 4 things. Then they flipped it, and they had each person doing one thing. And they realized how fast the production was going when everybody was doing one thing at a time. So I was thinking about that one time when I was cleaning, and I was like, man, when we clean, we do a lot of different things. So here's where the book's going to start to take us, right? So the first thing that one of the hugest reasons when I developed this system was that I wanted to share this with the entire world. And I'm not kidding you guys. Like, my goal right now is to put 1 million books out there. And this is not about selling books. This is about getting out the information, right? And because I know that many people, and raise your hand if you're one of them, right, that feel guilty when the house isn't clean, or that you don't have enough time to clean it, right? I mean, I'm sure everybody out there is, I can see some feet out there too. We're all in. And so the book teaches us really how to stop thinking about cleaning.
Okay.
And say, well, how does that happen? You still have to clean. And I tell people, well, if the job is done, whether like if your car is broken, I mean, if your car's not broken and it's running great, you don't walk around, drive around all day thinking, gee, I need to take the car to get fit. You know what I'm saying? When the job is done, you're not thinking about it. And what happens is, no time to clean, listen to Pauline, takes you to what I like to call a guilt-free place. It's a system that will help you spend so much less time cleaning. I like to tell people about what happens when we're cleaning, because the first chapter of the book is titled, Why do we hate cleaning? Okay, so the first 5 chapters of my book don't talk about cleaning. I don't tell anybody how to clean in the first 5 chapters. It's all about the psychology and the science. So let's backtrack a little bit and talk about, if you looked up the definition of cleaning, okay, cleaning is the action of making something clean. Organizing, okay, remember this now, is arranging things in a structure. So everybody close your eyes and envision this. Let's say that your weekly house cleaning is Saturday at 12 o'clock. Every Saturday at 12 o'clock, you're going to do your weekly house cleaning. So you're like, okay, let's go in the kitchen. Let's start in the kitchen. We're going to do the dishes.
That's where I wake up. As soon as I make it to the dishes, that's when I wake up.
Okay, so you start to, and you see something on the counter, and you're like, what the heck is that doing here? So you pick that up. You walk it. It was like, oh, that belongs in the bathroom. So you walk clear across the house to put this little thing that belongs in the drawer in the bathroom. You get in there, you open up the drawer, and you're like, damn, this drawer's a mess. Let me fix this up, right? And then now you walk all the way back to the kitchen. It's like 40 minutes later, and you're like, geez, cleaning takes so long. And I'm like, but you haven't cleaned anything yet. So what is happening? We're mixing chores. That is why it takes us so long to quote unquote clean. So I go into this whole spiel about how not to mix chores. So what I tell people is, if you want to organize, if you want to do laundry, if you want to do the dishes, if you want to put the toys away, right? All that other stuff that we say we're doing when we're supposed to be cleaning needs to be done. Either you can do it the night before, you can do it a couple of hours before your selected cleaning time. And you got another option. OCD people don't like this, but you have to follow me on this one, okay? So here's the other option. Don't move it. Don't move the pile of stuff that's on the floor. Vacuum around it, dust around it, whatever it is. People freak out, but I'm like, listen, at least the house is clean.
Yeah.
By the end of those 3 hours, your house is clean, okay? If you've got a mess, that's a whole different thing. You can do that, put stuff away later on, whatever. But chances are next week, the stuff is going to be in a different spot. So whatever that spot that you missed vacuuming last Saturday, it's going to get vacuumed next Saturday. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah, well, it's funny because with that, when you said that, like I swear to God that when my wife gets dressed in the morning, I literally feel she just opens up her closet and then just goes like this, like, and like I'll walk into a room and I'll be like, "What happened?" Like, and she'll be like, "I was looking for something to wear," and I'm like, "You wear the same clothes to work, like over like a 2-week span, like multiple different times, like." What? So yeah,
that is 100% true.
That's part of why people hate cleaning. that they say it takes too long. So once you dispel that part, you start to see things are moving into that. But here's the other part, you guys. Let's go back to Saturday, 12 o'clock, and I'm going to take out some of my supplies to clean. Okay. And so I got some props here. So I take these out, right? These nice, pretty rags. Aren't they beautiful? Even the word, even the word makes me not want to do the job.
Nicely folded.
Who wants to do anything with a rag that looks like this? Okay. So back in the day when I wrote the book, they didn't have this now. The cleaning industry adopted my term called cleaning cloths. And I'm like, we're not calling them rags anymore. We're calling them cleaning cloths. And I told people back in those days, go to your favorite, a linen shop and buy face cloths, but buy colors that you like, your favorite colors, right? Face cloths were, pretty good shape, pretty good cleaning for cleaning and stuff. Today, look what we have now on the market. Microfiber cleaning cloths. Look at the colors. Like, don't they just make you happy? It's a whole different ball game, right? So when you started talking about dressing, I thought you were going to go someplace else. So I got overexcited. But so here's the other thing, right? So it's 12 o'clock Saturday, time to clean. So now we're not bringing out the rags anymore. We're not allowed to use that word. So we got the microfiber cleaning cloth. But what's the other thing people associate with cleaning? Dirt. So how do they dress? Crappy old jeans, old t-shirts, something stained. Women will put their hair up in a ponytail, no makeup, whatever.
Yep.
And so you see where I'm going here with all this? Like, who the hell wants to do anything that's the setup? Like, that's the setup. Like, yeah. How do you get excited about this, right? So I tell people, look, and I know this because remember I was telling you guys, I would go for 4 hours of class, then I would deal with the president of the university or whatever, whoever I was doing for like an hour or so. Then I would go to clean the house. I didn't have time to change. So whatever I was wearing to do what I was doing during the day, I had to wear when I was cleaning houses. And you know how many outfits I ruined? 0.
Really?
Oh. Unless you're cleaning with bleach, you don't rip your clothes. You're just cleaning. You're dusting, vacuuming. So I tell people this now. I'm like, imagine as a surprise when you're smack in the middle of cleaning, some college buddy comes into town without telling you, knocks on the door and says, hey, let's go to lunch. Dress the way that you would feel good, that you wouldn't feel embarrassed if they came and knocked on the door, that you could literally just take off your gloves, grab your keys and roll. Get what I'm saying? Wash your hands, whatever, but you get what I'm saying because you feel good enough about yourself. So when you're setting up a scenario where you've got products that are pretty, things that you like, things that make you happy, there's a light at the end of the tunnel because it's only a 3-hour process in your whole house. Because so many people tell me what drives them to finally clean. It's not, nobody likes the process, right? It's when it's done.
Yeah.
Right? The feeling.
Yep.
You feel free. There's no guilt. You feel happy. You feel relaxed. You just feel free. This is the best way I can describe it. And you now have enough time to actually enjoy yourself, right? You have that extra time to spend with your family, your friends, and most importantly, yourself, if you want to do something for yourself, right? So it sets up a scenario to take out all the negative stigmatism to it. But here's my favorite one, and the one people comment on the most. One of the other ones I say is that, what's the one thing that makes everybody in the world happy? Music.
Yeah. Yeah.
Music.
Every time me and my wife clean, always there's an echo, there's music. So it's normally Taylor Swift because she's a Swiftie, but it's normally music.
I can always tell when I get home from work if my wife is like cleaning the house because that's what I'll hear before I get in the house. I'm like, oh my God, here we go.
So that's perfect. And I tell people blast it. And I'm like, you know what? If you've got teenagers in the house or a spouse or, whether you're the guy with the cleaning or the lady at the cleaning, whatever the deal is, and they're complaining about the music, I say, just tell them the next time you do the weekly house cleaning chores, you get to play your music.
Well, it's funny too, because when we clean also, I talked a little bit on the pre-show about our dogs. Like, I feel like our dogs judge us when we clean, but also they look super sad. Like our lab mix, she always looks sad as it is. But I feel like when we wash the blankets, because like we'll pick up one of the blankets, we have so many blankets. We'll pick it up. We'll be like, this smells like dog.
Yeah.
And then like, we'll wash it. And our dogs will kind of look at us like we worked hard
To get that smell.
smell like us. Like, why are you doing this?
I'm so glad I'm not alone with that. I'm
Yeah,
so
yeah.
glad. Because like we have like our couch where the dogs, like our dogs hop on the couch. That's where they sleep most of the time. And they have like their own blankets, right? And when you remove those blankets, they're both like, what is going on? We don't like, they don't know how to act. It's like,
Something
what?
bad's happening.
Oh, it's ridiculous. It's
So,
ridiculous.
let's move on a little bit and seeing as we're talking about pets. So my book really is teaching people how to use a cleaning system.
Yeah.
And going back a little bit to, having written a book 33 years ago, when I got this idea and I got so excited, I'm like, the whole world has to know about this because this is freaking amazing, for lack of a better term. It just is, to not have any clue and walk around randomly cleaning all of a sudden and have a system and you're done in 3 hours. That's crazy. And it's over. So I was like, I just have to write this book. So I went to, I don't know how old you guys are, but I'm a lot older. Those days, to go to buy a book, you had to go to a brick and mortar store, right? 33 years ago. And so I would drag her like 8 o'clock at night. She was like 5 years old. And we'd sit on the floor and I'd sit in the self-help section. And I was reading the cleaning books that were on the market because I didn't want to reinvent the wheel. I didn't want to waste my time if this had already been there. So, and it hadn't. There was no book. It was organizing and tips, right? Like, mix this stuff together to clean that spot and do this for that and that kind of stuff. Never anything about a system. So I was like, okay, cool, I'm gonna write the book. So then when I finally decided, so the book's written for 33 years. And, people say, well, why did you wait so long to publish it? I didn't wait. I tried a few times, but back in those days, people weren't publishing self-help books and you had to have some amazing novel and stuff like that. And then when self-publishing came up, it was like thousands and thousands of dollars. So I just happened to come across a gang when I started, COVID came, everybody shifts the way they think and stuff and started doing some like life coaching stuff and just came into this group of people and found out that you could co-publish a book. And which is awesome. And so I got in and that's how come it finally got published. But I would love to say, well, I did this to help the people during COVID. It's a coincidence. That's the book that was written. And I was going through my COVID thing. So I was like, here you are, everybody. This is it. God made me wait all these years because this was the time to deliver this book. And so, anyway, having the opportunity to write something that you can share with everybody that is really going to change the way they think about cleaning. And somebody was telling me the other day about the statistics during COVID of divorce. I was like, what? Yeah, because you have to be together all the time. So there's, I guess, a lot of arguing and fighting going on.
Well, that's the thing. It's funny because when me and my wife clean, a lot of times we argue. It's almost like the same thing. It's when we put furniture together. Like I always tell her whenever we get something like shelves or anything in general, that it's divorce fuel because she also want to assemble it this way. And I'm like, well, no, we got to assemble it this way. And then it goes nuclear from there.
So I'm hoping that maybe if people buy the book, there'll be a lot less divorces.
Yeah.
Maybe we should get lawyers on the line to listen to this. They wouldn't want to hand it out. They'd lose their fee. But anyways.
They'll lose their clientele.
Yeah. But anyway, so when we get into the second half of the book actually starts to talk about the actual system. And to me, I feel like once I knew that there was a system, again, we talked about this earlier, where I feel like, okay, when okay, this is what you do, bam, 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 and you're done. To me, I feel like that's a light at the end of the tunnel, right? And when there's a light at the end of the tunnel, it makes what you're doing feel less like a chore because it's going to end. And it has a good ending, right? Cleaning always has a good ending.
Yeah.
So when we were talking about the pets, I was talking about getting into the system. I do have a few, I like to call them tricks instead of tips. Just sounds more fun, right? That I have for cleaning. And so I don't know if you guys read this or not, but in my book, I have what's called Augmented Reality. Are you familiar with that?
Yeah.
Yeah, I am. Last I heard from the publishing company, only the 15th person in the world to have augmented reality in a book.
Really?
And it just so happens that I paired up with a Hasmark publishing company that was the first publishing company in the world to introduce AR, augmented reality, in books. And so what that is, for people that don't know, is we have what we call markers. So whatever your picture is, mine happens to be an oyster with a pearl in it, because I have this thing called Pauline's Pearls that gives you advice. And so every time you see one of those markers, the first page of the book, when you open up the book, it teaches you how to download the AR app. So you download that and you just hold your phone on the marker and a video pops up showing you some of these tricks, right? And so I want to help you guys because you guys talked about pets. So I have another prop for you. So one of my tricks, this is awesome. If you guys remember nothing ever about this interview, you will love this part. So one of the things that aggravated the heck out of me when I clean a bathroom, and I'm sure millions of people can relate, is the hair on the counter. Whether it's short hair, hair from shaving, long hair, pet hair. So what we instinctively do is like, okay, time to clean the bathroom counter. So you got all this stuff on it. You take the spray, you put the spray, and you start wiping, and the hair just goes from point A to point B. From point A
from one side to the other.
And so I'm like, okay, one of the things I teach people is you have to keep your cleaning supplies clean, right? So I literally go step by step, but we'll talk about that. So I tell people all the time, rinse your sponge, rinse your sponge. It seems like it's, like time consuming, but and I'm trying to teach you how to save time, but I guarantee it's not. So what you do before you spray anything on the counter, if you have all this hair, is you get yourself one of these guys. $8 on Amazon. It's just a feather duster.
Oh,
Okay. And you just give some quick swipes of the feather duster on the counter. It pushes all of the dry hair on the floor, which we don't worry about because we're going to be vacuuming down the road, right? And not years.
Yeah. You do it, vacuum right now. I gotta do it now. Gotta do it.
And so now when you go to clean the countertop, there's no hair to deal with, and it changes everything. So the speed of that, I know you guys say, oh, what's that gonna take? An extra couple minutes? Oh no, try it with doing version A, and then try it with the feather duster, and you feel like this is awesome. It saves like 15 minutes and rinsing and then where does the hair go? Down the drain, right? And then not Tom has to go to work.
Yeah, exactly.
So the AR marker has little tricks like that in there. So, but I just wanted to give you guys that one because I know with the pet hair thing, it really could be quite aggravating.
Oh yeah, I have two 80-pound plus dogs that run around the house. Like
you have 140 pounds of hair.
Yeah. Oh, and I got two cats too. Right. So I got two cats.
Oh no.
So my house is literally nothing but like pet hair.
Yes.
All the time. So yeah, I get it.
But here's the other thing too, you guys, is that without a weekly house cleaning system, a lot of times people will just not clean for weeks because it's overwhelming, right? So remember we talked about how you dress and all this. So you're dressing crappy, you're using, it's like, oh my God, I'm just not even bothered. And then that's where the guilt comes in all the time, right? The guilt. And so what happens with the system is it takes you to a place where, you're spending less time, stress, money, energy, all of that stuff to, that you usually have for not cleaning. And I just believe that everybody, especially these days, right, deserves more time. We all deserve more time for ourselves. And so when you have the system, it's done, that the entire thing is done. And so not mixing the chores is key. How we feel about ourselves, how we dress, the type of tools. I even talk about when we get to the actual cleaning part. I tell people what type of supplies to purchase, but I don't name brands. And I do that for a couple reasons. One is I like people, to experiment for themselves. My book, No Time to Clean with Pauline, talks over and over and over again about you. I'm giving you some kind of guidelines, some kind of a model to follow so that you get the system makes it easier and better, but you have to do what makes you happy. right? I've talked to so many people like, well, I like to do this way and I like to do that. And I don't mind doing this and I don't mind doing that. And they, you know why? A lot of those people have a system. And I'm like, that's cool. You do that way because you have a system, you know?
Yes.
So it's all about you. You have to, be able to not be afraid to bend and, whatever. And I actually dedicated the book to the reader. And I think that's a big deal because when I was researching, dedicating a book, it's always like, my wife, my kids, my grandpa, my high school teacher, like, somebody else. And I'm like, no, this book is for the people out there, man. It's their book, So it really is meant to be a system that you can just take from and adopt your own in your own way, just to help you get out of that.
It's funny you say that because like they have this cleaning spray at Target, right? And it's like a vinegar based thing, but I love the way that it smells because it smells like vinegar. All right.
You just squirt it up your nostrils.
And look, everybody in my house hates it except for me. So you can always tell, like when I clean the kitchen or whatever, because it smells like that. And I'm just like, whatever, fuck you guys. This is my thing.
It's funny because she brought up everybody has their methods, and it's funny because my method fails because my method is look at it and hope that my wife does it. But I think my wife has the same method. That she looks at it and hopes that I do it, and then it's just kind of like
all you got to do is vacuum around the piles. Just vacuum around the piles. You'll be okay.
Right? Tom, you got it, man. Done.
I got it all figured out now.
You don't have to buy the book. He's just going to vacuum around the piles.
Actually, while we were talking, I did order the book. So
that's awesome. That's the first time that's ever happened to me on an interview.
Once you said augmented reality, I was like, I gotta see what's happening here.
With the AR stuff, would that be able to be compatible with like one of the VR headsets? Would they be able to do the augmented reality stuff in like an Oculus or?
If you can pick up the app, yeah, I guess if I don't see why not.
If it supports the app, it probably. Yeah,
I don't see why not. I mean, I'm not like techie that kind of way, but it's AR and
I'm not techie either, but I just got the book, so I'll let everybody know how it works out.
That might be a cool thing to do too, is that the Oculus and all those VR headsets are so advanced right now that you could probably do an image of yourself and they can see you in their house or in their bathroom and you're showing them how to
So it's interesting that you say that because that's what made me think of the AR when I pulled out the feather duster, because there's 3 different sections in the book that have the AR and their tips because it's kind of hard. You can read something. I mean, we can explain it as much as we can, but there's nothing like watching something, right? It's like, oh yeah, you don't even have to talk, right? So I'm just kind of a little square of me in the background and you see me moving around doing whatever the chore is, right? And so that's exactly what I used it for. Like, I know that some of the people that had published a book right before I did, they do children books. And so they will actually read a section. So the little kids they're looking at their phones, and the author's reading a little section to them and stuff like that. So it's brand new and I'm sure it's gonna get crazy as time goes on, and people are going to really start using it, and just like all our other tech stuff, right? It's going to keep changing and getting better and cooler and stuff. So,
and speaking of crazy, things are going to get ready to get crazy because we're going to get into our new segment.
Getting nervous,
right? Last week called Burn Photo, which is the segment of us showing pictures of ourselves that we would love to die in a fire. So I'm going to go ahead and go first, and then I will show Tom. So this is mine for this week's burn photo. So Tom, you ready? Here we go. This is
I don't know if I am
mine for this week. That's me. I'm not sure. I think it's 6th grade, but you can see I'm wearing my gym suit with like my weird haircut and like
that's 2017, dude.
And I'm just sitting there, and the only thing I can think of is that I'm just thinking of cake the whole time, and that's
so happy.
Yeah. And then also we have Tom's too. I just need to locate where Tom's is. So let me go ahead and hit stop on that. So Tom, she sent yours over. So this is yours. This is your burn photo for this week. So that's Tom Nutty's burn photo for this week. And when I look at that, I pretty much see the homeless guy outside the gas station that's getting ready to ask you for change.
I gotta tell you what I see. I see somebody that looks like he just caught a gator.
And it looks like he has moss on his shirt. Like that's the thing. Like, he just dove
Like
in the water.
in the dark, because I'm from South Florida, and we have I work, my real job is with the Everglades Coalition, and so we have the Burmese python that are just eating everything in the Everglades, right?
Oh,
So we have all of these things set up by the wildlife agencies that they go out and they pay them for each Burmese python they get. And so that just totally looked like he just caught one.
Well, a funny story.
He got the grass. He's all happy.
Look, the funny story about that picture is about a half hour after that was taken, is I was punched in the face by a biker chick, right? And it was all in good fun because she told me she was going to do it, and I was like, I bet you won't. And I walked around work with a fat lip for about 3 days after that.
Sorry.
It's funny that you brought up the stuff with you said pythons or whatever, like the pythons around eating it. It's funny because there was a story that I heard today and it's right here in Maryland, almost like the pig heart thing. They found a guy dead in his house, but he had over 120 snakes. 120 snakes in his hat. That's one of my biggest fears is snakes. So imagine you go in to clean a house and there's just hundreds of snakes in the house. Like that's insane. Like,
I've been asked when I have my cleaning business, when I talk about grim cleaning, I was called, I didn't do it. I just want you guys to know, it breaks my heart that somebody that I knew, their son shot himself in the head by accident because his father left the gun. Yeah, and they were there's blood stains on the carpet, and I'm like, I can't on the wall, and I'm like, I just can't do it.
If at the beginning of this, if somebody would have said who's going to have the darkest story, I would have never picked you to be the one that has the darkest story.
I know who you probably would have picked.
100% every time.
And speaking of which, what with you cleaning, what do you think was the worst stuff you've seen inside of a house? Like you just sit there and oh my God.
Yeah, so I've done hoarders.
Oh.
For houses. Yeah. And I will tell you, people, I had somebody once ask me at the end of an interview, what's the number one thing you want people to take from your cleaning book? And I'm pretty sure they assumed it was going to be some kind of a cleaning tip or trick or something. I go, well, what I want people to get out of this has nothing whatsoever to do with cleaning. And what it has to do with is that if you can turn weekly house cleaning into a system, you pretty much can make anything a system, right? Yeah. And so a lot of people, again, we're going back to like the not doing the weekly house cleaning. And this is why I say, do the weekly house cleaning chores, because it's never overwhelming anymore, right? Then if you want to skip a week, nobody feels guilty because it gets cleaned constantly. You might want to, like, I don't know, clean the toilet bowl or, the sink or something like that. But I mean, other than that, like nothing bad's going to happen if you don't vacuum that week or dust that week or whatever. So you can totally take a week off, but it eliminates things being overwhelming. And that's one of the reasons why it takes off a lot of stress and a lot of guilt, because it's not that bad if you skip a week. You know what I mean? So, so that's what happens again with the hoarding. I can go, that's a whole another topic, you guys. We'll do another show on hoarding, but there's two types. And one has the real psychological issue, and I can talk about that too. But the other type of hoarder, you have to pardon my term, but I just can't find a better one. It's just people are lazy.
Yeah.
They're like, it's just not their thing to put stuff away. It's like, it's kind of like, when you were telling me about you and your wife, like looking at things going, she'll do it, he'll do it. I don't know if you guys have ever watched Everybody Loves Raymond.
Yes.
But for anybody that has seen that, do you remember the suitcase when he came back from traveling? And
Yes.
they were season it, whatever it was, and it was there for like 3 weeks.
Yeah.
Everything.
Uh, and what I'm going to do real quick is I'm going to get into our featured beer. Of course, our featured beer is from Sierra Nevada. It's Narwhal Imperial Stout. So we debuted this last week. This is our current featured beer. And of course, with our featured beer.
I promise that's what's in this koozie.
Yeah. That can looks very blue. That looks very Bud Light like.
It's a Pennsylvania Sierra Nevada, dude.
Yeah. And then, of course, along with that comes our featured shot, which, of course, is still Jack Daniel's Winter Jack Tennessee Cider. So shout out to Jack Daniel's and their Tennessee Cider. Pauline, I don't know if you've ever tried it, but if you like cider, definitely go out.
I don't drink it. It sounds delicious.
Yeah. It's actually, have you ever had like real apple cider?
Oh, yeah. That is, oh.
Tastes just like
I
that
pour.
with Jack Daniel's in it. It's insane.
Yeah. Maybe not Tom can clean his house with that. Instead of the vinegar.
That went down weird.
But I have to ask you, I have to ask Tom, what's with the vinegar? Why do you like the smell? Because all I could think about was French fries.
I hate vinegar French fries. I hate vinegar chips. I don't know what it is about it, but I love the smell of bleach and I love the smell of vinegar.
Oh, yes. Yeah,
So,
that's psychological. Because I had somebody interview me before that was talking about she only likes the hardcore old-fashioned gonna cause you cancer smelling stuff. You know?
Yes, I like that lady.
Penny Stewart. And she and I all I could think about was like Listerine. Like, again, going back in the day, like Listerine was one of the only mouthwashes that were out there, and it just like burns your mouth. And then there was a commercial a few years back that said, "Oh, if the grandpa is like, oh, if you don't feel it burn, it's not working."
That's how I approach almost everything.
And Pauline, are you ready? We're going to get into our segment with our games. Oh, the humanity.
I'm scared, but I'm ready.
Yeah. Oh, the humanity starts off with, what do you meme? So do you know what a meme is?
Yes.
Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hold up a photo and you're going to create a meme for this photo. And then Tom will create one and then I'll create one. So this is the photo. For everybody listening at home, it's a happy baby wearing a hat in a bathroom. Another reason why to find us on YouTube, subscribe on YouTube, and also check us out on Facebook Live every single week.
I got it. I'm ready. Are you ready for it?
Let's do it.
Did not Tom just clean with vinegar?
All right, Tom, what about you, man?
Just got done reading Pauline's book, 10 out of 10.
And mine is when you successfully vacuumed around the clothes that have been for the last 17 months. And now we go into our game called Incoherent. So pretty much what it's going to be is I'm going to hold up two cards and they're going to be in drunken lingo. And you're going to do your best to sound them out and try to figure out what the cards say. They also have a couple of hints on the back. So this is the first one. What do you think that says?
Emotion? I don't know. Huge emotion.
One of the hints is an animated butt.
I don't know.
A millennial code for butt.
I usually get these.
Yeah,
and I don't
Tom's
have
pretty
this one.
good.
I don't have this one.
It is peach emoji. The emoji. Yeah.
Oh my God.
And
That wasn't fair.
This is the other one. What do you think that one is?
I guess I'm not good at this. I don't know.
That makes two of us. I don't have this
One of the
either.
hints is socially unacceptable. It would be socially unacceptable if you did this. Anything that wastes intoxicants or ruins the mood.
Oh, I got it. I got it.
Well, all I can think of is two things. One of them is burp, but I don't know what it is.
It is party foul.
Party foul. Yeah.
So if you commit a party foul. And then the last part of Ode to Humanity, the word is actually in it is Cards Against Humanity. Pauline, are you familiar with Cards Against Humanity?
I am not.
All right, you're in for
I'm gonna be in a minute.
it is a very vulgar game, and we play it a very specific way here on the Happy Hour podcast. What I'm going to do is I'm going to read you off the subject card, and then you're going to blindly, randomly answer that with one of 5 options. You're going to just choose a number between 1 and 5. And if you don't like that answer, you get to pick another one. So we're going to do 2 rounds. So the first one is, before I run for president, I must destroy all evidence of my involvement with blank.
Okay, so this is me. I'm talking about Pauline.
And then what you're going to do is you're going to choose a card 1 through 5 randomly. And
Oh,
the
okay.
card's going to answer that.
Oh, okay. All right. So I'm gonna pick 5.
5. All right. So 5. All right. So before I run for president, I must destroy all evidence of my involvement with being 9 years old. So are you satisfied with that, or would you like to choose another card?
Yeah, let's go for number 4.
Number 4. All right. So number 4. So
Off the line.
before I run for president, I must destroy all evidence of my involvement with a micro pig wearing a tiny raincoat and booties.
Yeah, I think that's the one.
Hey, I'm going to go with number 2, Ray. What was number 2?
What was number 2? Number 2 was the pleasure of watching my boys wolf down my pot roast and scamper into the woods.
I'll take it.
And then some of the other options were the unstoppable tide of Islam and Chinese.
God, both of those were fucking better than the other.
Yeah. And then the second one is, the Japanese have developed a smaller, more efficient version of blank. So 1 through 5. What do you say? What number do you think will work for you, Pauline?
Let's try 2.
2? All right. So 2. The Japanese have developed a smaller, more efficient version of the devil himself. Does that work for you?
I'm
Or do you
sticking
wanna
with that one.
choose-
That's the one, man.
That's the one. All right. So Tom, you're going to say 4. All right.
4.
Let's see what 4 is, Tom. All right. So 4. 4 is the Japanese have developed a smaller, more efficient version of the American dream. And then some of the
Yes.
other options that could have popped up were smallpox blankets, shambling corpse of Larry King, and elderly Japanese men.
God, I wish I would have picked number 1 or whatever smallpox blankets were.
And Pauline, that's our Ode to Humanity segment. Thank you.
Oh my God, it's hysterical.
And I got to ask you, so I was thinking about this. I drive a truck for a living. I deliver copiers, and I run into this all the time. And I'm sure when you travel, you run into this. Tom runs into this. Everybody does. When you stop on the side of the road and you go in somewhere, you need to go to the bathroom so bad, and you just go in and you see the dirtiest, nastiest bathroom you have ever looked at in your life. Have you ever walked into and like just instantly like the switch flips, like I need to clean this right now? Like, you know, the worst. Yeah.
There's no switch that flips. The only switch that flips is the pee comes back up where it belongs and stays there.
Look,
The only switch that flips is in the bathroom as you walk out the door. See, I'm turning the lights off and I'm leaving.
I've been I've been a construction worker for like almost 20 years now. So I also have that switch where I've walked into bathrooms and been like, nope, not today. I'm out.
Well, it's funny because I was once told, shout out to one of my buddies, Mike. He used to work in the hotel field, and he always said, if you're on the road and you can't find a place to use the bathroom, the best place to go is always a hotel, because you just walk right into a hotel, because most of the time they don't know who's staying there and who's not. You can just walk in and use a nice hotel bathroom.
Absolutely.
And I use that all the time, but it's weird because COVID made just, and I have the bladder of a 5-year-old as it is. So, you know, it made it hard for me because it's like, I drink one beverage and I have to pee. So it's like when COVID came up, you can't, at that point, you can't stop at McDonald's. You can't stop at Burger King. You just can't stop someplace and go into the bathroom. So there were times where I was driving down the road. I'm like, this is it. My bladder is just going to explode. It's just
doesn't matter
all over the windshield. That's just what's going to happen because I can't find it. It's almost like Washington, D.C. You just can't find a a place to use the bathroom.
Yeah. I mean, I have gone into places where I think that I think it's kind of, I think pretty much everybody's got to be like this, right? Like, even if you're not, some people will say, well, they'll say like their spouses or their significant others, whatever, right? Like they're slobs. They'll use that word because the stuff around them is, but I try to explain to people that, that's not really cool, because people, for the most part, people like things to be clean. So even if you're sitting at the guy that's got the dirty desk and the dishes are piled high, whatever, that's really because, they don't like doing it, right? It's not that they enjoy being around filth. And so I think that happens to all of us. And that was really a really good question about, what do I think when I see a really dirty area? I think the same thing everybody else does. Like, first of all, the pee part, well, that's kind of an emergency. So we got to play with that psychological factor, right? But if it weren't, let's say we just wanted to wash our hands, I think I do see things and look at that and think, oh my God, like, even like, the dentist office, like, wouldn't you think that would be immaculate? And it's not to go in there, you know what I mean? And you go to the bathroom in there and, and you're like, what is happening here? And
you're in there, you're like, I'm gonna get something right now. Like, I am getting something. I don't know what it is, but something bad is going to happen. And it's funny because you talk about your method of getting stuff clean fast, and I was sitting there and I'm like, man, like that's insane. Like, let's just say that somewhere in the universe, like, Back to the Future type stuff exists. Do you think that maybe somehow, some way, Jason Voorhees and Michael Myers has unlocked a time portal and they got a hold of your book? Because in any horror movie you watch, they brutally murder somebody, and then 5 minutes later, someone walks into that same spot and there's no blood, no relevance of a murder at all. And it's like, how did they get that?
That happened. It's funny how we think about things, right? When we watch movies, like, I mean, like I'm such a realist and I hardly ever watch TV, but when I do, I'm like, oh, well, that's crap. You know what I mean? It's like, well, that doesn't happen in real life. I just tear it all apart. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And then you have to have a little talk with yourself, like, all right, Pauline, it's just a movie. Shut up and pay attention.
Well, what if Jason like pulls out a little pocket version of like No Time to Clean, and he's like, what do I do right now? And he gets his little augmented reality.
There you go. But I got another part. You guys just walked right into another good segment, right? So when you get to this system, one of the things I thought about was when, I told you the first 5 chapters don't talk about cleaning, it talks about psychology and getting you all set up. It's only chapter 6 that starts to talk about, here you go, here's where we start, right? So I thought about this and I'm like, who's going to want to walk around? And let me just show you guys. You see how thin the book is?
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Just really thin.
In the photo, it looked like it was a little bit.
Back there, it's pretty thick. I know, it's kind of intimidating. Yeah. But that's how they make it when they first design.
Yeah.
But anyway, so see how thin it is? It just gets right into. So it's not. I've had people say, "Oh, I don't have time to read the book." Well, read the book. You'll have all kinds of time to do stuff. But
it's not like you put the book on the desk and it goes poof.
Yeah, I purposely made it because the whole thing is about trying to reclaim our weekends and saving time and having time to do what we want to do, right? And so I thought about that when it came to the part where the instructions are. So I thought I got this brainstorm, and the bonus is in the back of the book. So if you get the book, the bonus is in it, tells you what to do to go on the website and stuff. But what I did was I printed out. It's always hard to show stuff on Zoom, but I printed out these user-friendly printouts.
Oh, that's cool.
It's the bullets. So you literally just print these out, and then you just stick them in your cleaning bucket, right? And then you follow. And so if this gets dirty or whatever, print out another one or
a new one. Yeah.
But here's the thing. Here's where I'm going with this. I pretty much, unless there's like something psychologically wrong with somebody, by the 3rd time, I guarantee you will not have to read these.
Oh, I'm gonna have to read those like 16 or 17.
No, you know why? Because it is so intuitive. You're gonna be like, how the hell did no one ever come up with this? And you're gonna be mad at yourself. How did I not think of this myself? Like that's what I'm saying. It's so plain and easy. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
so, so you won't, I guarantee you, people won't need them long, because it's going to be about a system. But yeah, so they're out there for people, so you can just print them. And I'm an environmentalist at heart, as you can tell. I work with the Everglades and stuff, and so I don't have any pictures and all kinds of crazy stuff on there when you print them out. It's just, you print. I call them printer-friendly guidelines.
And Pauline, of course, we're starting to run up there on time. Again, thank you for joining us on our pre-show. For everybody listening at home, make sure you find us on YouTube or Facebook. We got into all kinds of stuff with Pauline a half an hour before we went, into the actual audio version of the show, the actual 1 hour version of the show. And Pauline, where can everybody find your book or find you?
So everything about me is just PaulineIreneStacey.com. That will take you to the website. And the website is amazing. There's just so much information on it. And then same thing with Instagram and Facebook. You really need to keep track of that, even if you don't buy the book, because that's why I kind of spilled the beans on a lot of tips and tricks, right? I keep, I wet everybody's whistle every once in a while so they keep coming back. But remember, I said in the book, I don't give product recommendations. I save that for social media.
Yeah.
So Pauline's Pearls, every once in a while, one of them will come out and I will tell you about a product. And I don't just say, buy this product, it's great. I go into details, like the science of it, why this product works. And I'm telling you, man, I've had people come back and tell me the time that they have saved from buying the right product and the right types of, microfiber cleaning cloths. And they make microfiber window cloths specifically for windows, which is amazing. But check out Instagram too. And it's just same thing at Pauline Irene Stacey. And yeah, everything is there.
And of course, this will be on our Instagram. We're going to break it up into clips and all that. Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, Twitter, all that fun stuff. And where can everybody find the book? Like I do see in your backdrop that it does say Amazon, Barnes and Noble.
And Barnes and Noble. Yep, those are the two most popular places. There's a list like a mile long of places you can actually buy the book. It's sold internationally. So it is. And so, there's like, I forget those two really, really cool. No, there's three in New York. There's really cool bookstores that everybody that goes to New York goes to.
One of them you're talking about, because we went, one of our trips to New York, we went
really
to it.
Cool, right? Yeah. It's like, yeah. So,
and with best selling, how many, is there a certain?
So, what happens is on the day you release your book, my book is so cool because I've had people ask me, like, in the beginning when I was trying to figure out how to get this published or whatever, and they would say, well, what's your target audience, right? And I know I've always felt so lame saying, well, it's everybody, because it just sounds like you haven't done your homework. But unless you live in a cardboard box, who doesn't need to know a system of how to get things clean fast so we can be done with it, right? So it really is everybody. There's no, even teenagers could read it, right? Could use it, but doesn't matter, where you live in the world. This system will help everybody and anybody. So, so what happens is that the day that it comes out, it depends on how many. It goes into a lot of different categories. So one of them, for instance, was like self-help. One of them was do-it-yourself. One of them was like I forget them all. There was several of them. Like psychology, like that type of topic. There were several of them like that. And so it depends on how they were sold. And I think, even on there too, right there, it says #1 hot new release. That was in one particular category that, so it goes on the day that you release the book. That's how you get your, unlike New York Times, that's a whole, if somebody says New York Times bestseller, that's a piece of work. So I'm going to work on that too.
Well, that's the thing. And, it goes to show, like, with all your years of cleaning and all your knowledge, it just goes to show you bust your ass. And, I always tell people all the time, I did 20 years in pro wrestling. Now, I'm doing this podcast stuff that, the harder you work, Tom started his podcast based, he liked ours, he liked the Laugh Finder podcast. So he started doing his. And I always tell people hard work pays off, work your ass off and you'll get rewards with that.
You know what? The biggest thing for me, it's the biggest reward is the people that you help, right? Yeah. Because somebody asked me something about, this was a magazine interview, one of the questions was something about if somebody else was thinking about publishing a book, what would you say to them? And I said in big capital letters with a lot of exclamation points, do it, right? Because we all have something to share. There's almost 8 billion people on the planet, 8 billion people, right? So what you're thinking, what you have to offer, what Tom has to offer, what Pauline has to offer, it's all different stuff. But I guarantee you, somebody's going to be really happy that you shared it. You know what I mean? And we have to have each other's back. It's just such a crazy time. You know, we have to have each other's back.
When I first started doing comedy, my sister came to the first mic I ever did. And she told me, she said, the worst thing that you could do is not do this. And I was like, you know what? That makes a lot of sense.
You just gave me
it's true. It's true. You know, it really is. So
the hardest step is doing it. That's the thing. That's the hardest step is doing it. Because once you do it, you're not going to think about it anymore.
Yes. I think, do you mean to say the hardest step is to get started?
Yes.
Yes. That's true. And that's what makes a lot of people. That's why so many people are not authors. They've got the knowledge to share with us. And I think they feel like when they talk about their target audience, it might be a lot smaller than, a cleaning book, right? But it doesn't matter, because if it's a slice of 8 billion people, why would you, I'll take a slice of 8 billion people. What's your problem there? So, it's for me, it's like the reward of people coming back and saying how it has affected their lives. It's really cool. And the other thing I like about Amazon, and if anybody does buy the book on Amazon, please leave a review. That is huge for authors.
My wife looks at Amazon reviews on everything, and a lot of people forget that Amazon started off with just books. That's the thing.
I know, isn't that cool?
Yeah,
it's so cool. Like even in a store, I'll be at a department store just for shopping for Christmas. I hate shopping, and I will actually go on Amazon reviews of that product in the store before I buy it. You know what I mean? Yeah, because you can just look it up and say, "Oh, that vacuum sucks." Okay.
A little claim to fame I have: if you try to buy General Mills chicken and waffles cereal off of Amazon, I have the highest rated review on that product.
Nice.
Because it was terrible. But I wrote like 2 paragraphs. I wrote like 2 paragraphs about how it was terrible and my experience with that cereal.
So you're now on some Amazon blacklist now. That's what it is. And Pauline, we're going to go ahead and let you get ready to get out of here soon. Of course, we're going to be back next week. Next Friday, we will be live at 8 p.m. right here on Facebook Live. And of course, everybody listening at home, we will be back next week. Our guest will be vocal coach, mentor, singer, and YouTuber, Rebecca, vocal athlete. That should be pretty fun getting into all that with her. We may even very well do song roulette and name off some songs and see if she can belt out, some vocal tunes with us with that. And then don't forget,
I will not be here for that one. I got a show down on the Eastern Shore with all the guys from Church of Satire and some local comedy. So I won't be here next week, but I'll be here in spirit.
And also next Saturday, we're going to do our second spin-off show. Of course, we have Fully Fermented, which is all of our vintage content. Next week will be our first HHPod roundtable. Myself, aka Chase Rawlings, all the years that I've been in the wrestling business. I'll be joined by Ruckus, Chad Austin, and Bobby Starr, all of which very well-traveled professional wrestlers. Of course, Chad Austin was in ECW, Bob Starr was in WWF and WCW. So that will be live at the Marski Bar at 3301 Foster Avenue in Canton, Maryland. If you want to come out, say hello. We will be recording there live. Come out, get some pictures taken, say hello to the guys, say hello to all of us. And of course, buy a brew while you're there. Make sure you support local businesses. And, that's what's coming up for us. And of course, Pauline, thank you for joining us on the show.
Oh, pleasure.
We really, really appreciate it. And also everybody listening and watching at home, make sure you go to www.thehhpod.com, pick up some of our merchandise. Of course, this arrived this week. This is our pint glass with that beautiful image Steve Freeman did of all of us, of a spoof of Return of the Living Dead, so make sure you go out and pick that up. And also, as we said on the pre-show before we went live with Pauline, our brand new logo has just went live this week. which is right there. So make sure you go over to our official website, click the shop, and buy some Happy Hour podcast merchandise. We really appreciate it, all the support that we get every week for the show. And
while you're buying merch, you can swing over to TNutty80
yes,
on Instagram. That's where you find all your favorite Fuck Tom Nutty merch. You know what I mean?
and of course, we're going to go ahead and conclude our episode for this week. Everybody, thank you for listening in. And Pauline, would you be able to hang out for 1 minute?
Yeah, absolutely.
Awesome. Ladies and gentlemen, we will see you guys next week right here on Facebook Live, YouTube, and wherever else you find your podcasts. Thank you for tuning in.
Thank you so much.